This video is sponsored by Ren.
Hello cool kids, it's me Zezre. I'm back. Recently I uploaded this video about climate change which didn't actually end up doing too well, but the feedback to it was overwhelmingly positive, so I would really recommend you to go watch that video if you haven't already. But anyways, in that video I briefly mentioned the impact that food production has on our environment, and I discussed the impacts of veganism on our environment specifically. Animal products account for about 60% of food emissions, even though we don't even eat meat as commonly as we eat plant-based food. While I was sharing my thoughts, I mentioned how I have never gone a day in my life being vegan, and I wondered if it was possible for someone like me to actually be able to go vegan for a week. You know, maybe I should go vegan for a week. Maybe I should try it. Comment and like if you would like to see me try. Many of you guys supported this idea, so basically, I went vegan for a week.
The 7-day vegan challenge, baby. Solves all your problems.
You might have already heard that in my attempts to go vegan, I have managed to decrease my carbon emissions to 0%, become insanely healthy, and single-handedly save our planet. I am now a superhero who survives on plants alone, and here is how I did it.
He's having croissants. I can't have it because I'm vegan.
So good.
Croissants have eggs in them. You're killing the baby chickens.
Okay, so I did actually go vegan for a week, but I didn't save the planet. That was sarcasm, if you couldn't tell. And before I show you my week of veganism, I would first like to discuss my opinions and thoughts on vegans and veganism in general. So I know in my last video about climate change, I did say this. Going vegan won't save the earth, but we can't save the earth without going vegan. Well, after becoming vegan and doing my research on veganism, I changed my mind about that statement. Now look, this is a tricky debate, and if I'm being entirely honest, I'm not sure who exactly I'm supposed to believe, but the impacts of livestock and the amount of greenhouse gas emissions is actually quite debatable. It's not debatable that meat produces the most greenhouse gas emissions worldwide compared to plant-based products, but it is debatable whether or not cutting down on meat and meat production would actually make that large of a difference on our environment as people make it seem. Because on one hand, people argue that sourcing beef wastes incredibly large amounts of water, but on the other hand, people say that water isn't actually being wasted and that growing crops and other plants actually causes the most water wastage. There's also the whole methane debate about how cows release harmful amounts of methane into the atmosphere, which is a greenhouse gas. People have made arguments that it's just a natural process that doesn't actually pollute the environment, but I personally think that it does. But another argument, which I think is probably the most valid one, is that food waste actually causes more harm to the environment than the type of food that we consume. This is because either way, food is a necessity, and it's already been proven that it's pretty much impossible to produce food for billions of people without releasing emissions. So we can't just stop the production of food altogether, but what we can do is reduce the amount of food waste we produce. The amount of food that we waste is actually insane, and if you didn't know, when food waste decomposes, it actually releases methane. And the funniest part about that is that most of the food that's wasted is actually plant-based products. So if we all switch to veganism and stop meat production, we might actually produce more food waste because we actually give a lot of our food waste to livestock. The point is, the environmental impacts of veganism are still up to debate, and the hardest part about this debate is that it's actually really hard to do research on it. It's also hard to decide who's right or wrong in this situation, and even after spending a large amount of time researching, I'm still not sure who to believe. So I'm gonna leave that up to you. Do you think that if we all went vegan, we would greatly reduce our global greenhouse gas emissions? Or do you think it wouldn't actually make that large of a difference? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Hello, Editor Zezre here with a special announcement. Regardless of what your thoughts are on the matter, it is still important for us to put an effort into reducing our carbon footprint, whether it be by becoming vegan or just by trying to live more sustainably. If you don't know what a carbon footprint is, it's basically the amount of carbon emissions you as an individual produce. And I know that it may seem like you don't really have that large of an impact on our environment, but if we all put in the effort to reduce our emissions, we will be able to make the systematic change we need in order to prevent the climate catastrophe that's at hand. So if you don't want to go vegan like I did for a week in order to reduce your carbon emissions, then don't worry, because there are many other ways that you can help. And that brings us to today's sponsorship, Ren. This is actually the first sponsorship that I've ever had on my channel, and I am really excited to sponsor Ren, because Ren is actually an awesome way for you guys to make a difference in this global climate crisis. Ren is a website where you can actually calculate your carbon footprint and offset it by funding various carbon reduction projects that Ren provides to you on their website. These projects include tree planting, mineral weathering, and rainforest protection. One project that Ren helps fund is the Tech-Enabled Amazon Rainforest Protection Project, which gives Amazonians the tool they need to protect their homes. This project I particularly like because the conservation of rainforests is very important in order to reduce the amount of carbon in our atmosphere. And all you have to do is go onto their website, which will be linked in the description and in the pinned comment under this video, and there you can calculate your carbon footprint by answering a few questions about your lifestyle. There it will show you how many tons of carbon emissions you as an individual emit. Then you can sign up to make monthly contributions to offset your carbon footprint, and you'll receive monthly updates from the projects you support. You'll get details and photos of every tree that gets planted, every acre that gets reforested, and every ton of carbon that you have offset. And I know that in my last video about climate change, many of you in the comments were feeling helpless, scared about the future of our planet. And I've definitely felt that way too. I know a lot of you have asked me if there are any ways to help save the earth, and the answer is yes. You can now play a part in preventing the climate crisis by learning more on Ren.co. So go ahead and offset your carbon footprint on Ren. The first 100 people who sign up using the link in the description will have 10 extra trees planted under their name. So what are you waiting for? Go do it now.
But moving on, obviously the environmental impacts of veganism aren't the only reasons why people go vegan. The most popular reason for someone to go vegan is the poor animals. I'm sure you've seen various cringe compilations or TikToks of the vegan teacher shaming you and calling you a murderer for eating meat.
Eat your vegetables!
And this is largely because veganism is a lifestyle based on someone's moral beliefs. Vegans like to believe that the meat production industry is cruel, the way they farm their animals is inhumane, animals get tortured, they aren't respected, and they are farmed in just the worst conditions imaginable. And obviously vegans are against the idea of animals being killed for food when it's been proven that we can survive on a plant-based diet. And this is where most people tend to get annoyed because understandably meat and other animal products are very sacred and loved thing for a lot of us. The nutritional benefits of meat are definitely much higher than any plant-based product, and many people all over the world get way more sustenance from animal products than from plant-based foods. Obviously, meats are complete proteins, while you would have to eat loads of different types of plant proteins in order to get the same amount and quality of protein that you would get from just one piece of steak, for example. Besides the nutritional value of meat and other animal products definitely carry cultural importance too. I know that meat is a large part of my culture. I am Kazakh by ethnicity, and Kazakh people are known to have meat for every single meal, especially horse meat, which is the most common meat in our national dishes. Many people, even people who aren't vegans, would find us disgusting for eating horse meat, which I find very hypocritical, and I will elaborate on that a bit later. But anyways, in our culture, food is very important. Whenever I meet with relatives or whenever there is a celebration of some sort, we always binge on large amounts of food, mainly consisting of meat. That's something that we've been doing for centuries, and it doesn't seem like any of us are willing to give up that part of our culture anytime soon, especially since Kazakh people pride themselves in their culture because of the almost 70 years we've spent under the Soviet Union. And obviously, putting the nutritional and cultural reasons aside, people just love animal products and they don't see anything wrong with the consumption of these products. And that's when it just simply boils down to people's beliefs. The biggest problem that meat eaters have with vegans is that many vegans seem to try and shove their beliefs up everyone's throats. And look, before any of you vegans get mad at me, I'd first like to say that I agree with you guys. I agree with the fact that the way we kill and farm animals for our own comfort and pleasure can be viewed as morally unjust. I mean, you just can't deny it. I'm sure you've already seen the sad, scary images and videos of farm animals being killed and tortured in these terrible conditions. And for what? For us to enjoy a Big Mac or whatever? It's been proven countless of times that we are able to survive on a plant-based diet and get adequate amounts of nutrition. Obviously, it's much harder to get the correct amount of nutrients because you are setting up restrictions for yourself, but let's not pretend like most of our population gets enough nutrition anyways, vegan or not. Like, don't pretend that you get enough protein in your daily diet. I see you eating your third instant ramen of the day. But anyways, I do actually agree with vegans because going vegan for a week really showed me that it is possible for anyone to be vegan if they really wanted to really put the effort in. But let's be real here for a moment. All of us who aren't vegans just don't want to be vegan. Even if we could be vegan, we just don't don't want to be vegan. And many vegans may be shaking their head because how could I pay for and support the torture and suffering of living things? And you know, I've heard an argument which is actually a really good one from vegans, which was like, if you can support the slaughter of animals, could you support someone raping them? And you know, that really made me think, because when it comes to human beings, we usually regard murder as a worse thing than rape. Murderers get life sentences in jail, or they get the death penalty in some places, while rapists don't get the same harsh punishments. So why do we support the murder of animals when we don't support people raping animals? I will go ahead and admit it. As a meat eater, I don't really care if animals get killed or tortured for animal products. Don't get me wrong. I love animals because they're cute and funny, and they're too stupid to hurt my feelings or be mean to me because they don't know how to talk. I can communicate with humans, and humans are smarter than animals. Therefore, I personally believe we have the right to use our big brains to make our lives more comfortable and enjoyable, and a part of that joy and comfort for me is eating meat. And if you are against this, that is part of your own personal moral values, and you have no right to let your values dictate mine. As a society, we have collectively decided that killing animals for consumption is an okay and justified thing to do. That's why I find it jarring when vegans compare the lives of animals to the lives of humans. The reasons why killing people or causing harm to people is frowned upon is because humans can directly communicate how wrong and unjust those things are. As humans, we can empathize with each other because we are the same species, and we also are a social species that relies on each other for survival. Most of us don't have the ability to empathize with animals to the same degree as we do with people. And if you are one of those vegans who finds the slaughter of animals to be just as morally wrong as the slaughter of people, I can't really stop you from thinking that way, but you must understand that not everyone is going to share the same values as you do. For example, those who believe in Islam or Judaism are against eating pork. They believe it's sinful. They have the personal choice to not consume pork because it's against their beliefs. But I believe that they have no right to force their beliefs down the throats of others. I know that many of us find it really annoying when people try forcing their religious values up our throats when we simply just don't share the same beliefs as they do. And it's the same thing when it comes to vegans. One last thing I'd like to bring up is the arguments vegans use against people who own pets. Like, a dog lover would never eat a dog's flesh, so why do they think it's okay to eat a cow? I actually agree with this argument. I find it really hypocritical when people judge others for the type of meat that they consume. We are meat eaters. I am a meat eater. I am not gonna shame others for the type of meat they're eating, because at the end of the day, it's cruel either way because a living being is being killed. It doesn't matter if it's a dog or a cow. The fact that we decide which animal is more morally right to be eaten is kind of stupid in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't want to eat a dog, but I don't have the right to make fun of other cultures that do eat dogs because I have eaten cows, chicken, fish, lamb, pigs, horses, and I have even eaten a rabbit before. Like, many people out there could have kept all of those animals as pets and we still eat them. That's why I get upset when people shame my culture for eating horse meat, as if it's somehow worse to eat a horse than it is to eat a cow. Like, come on. But anyways, those were my thoughts on veganism. I hope you found them to be interesting. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how my week of being vegan actually went, so let's get on to that now. Firstly, I know that some of you are going to be annoying in the comments. I know I wasn't technically vegan for a week. Technically, I went on a plant-based diet for a week. And if you don't know what the difference is, basically being vegan is not eating any animal products, but also not using any animal products. And I'm not sure if I used any animal products because I just changed my diet. So technically, I went plant-based for a week. I'll also give some context to how I usually eat because I've never done an eating type vlog before. So none of you really know how I live my life normally. Basically, I am a huge fan of animal products. I eat animal products for every meal. I eat 3 meals a day normally, and I have snacks in between, you know, like any normal person would. For me, meat is always the main course, and anything that isn't meat is usually a side dish or a snack. This doesn't mean I don't like vegetables or fruits though. I love vegetables and fruits, and I wouldn't call myself a picky eater because I eat just about everything except tomatoes, onions, candy, fizzy drinks, and salty snacks like crisps. Those are the only things I don't really like. My favorite food of all time is salmon in any form, smoked, baked, raw, granola, etc. It's my favorite thing ever. And apart from salmon, I love myself some yogurt. Oh, and cottage cheese. So for a person like me, becoming vegan wasn't an easy task, especially since I don't cook for myself. I am 15 years old, so I am growing, and I am also really physically active because I love sports and I do boxing twice a week. I also have school, so I spend almost 8 hours each day outside of my home, which meant that I have to have at least one vegan meal at school. And yes, our school does have vegetarian options, but vegan is very different from vegetarian because vegetarian food can still have dairy or eggs in it. So basically, I had to learn how to plan my meals to make sure I had enough nutrition to do my sporty business, to make sure I didn't starve at school, and to make sure it tasted good. I had researched a bit about plant-based proteins because I was scared I wouldn't get enough protein while being vegan, and I also went grocery shopping for vegan products. Keep in mind, I live in Kazakhstan, so the amount of vegan options were a bit limited, but I made do with what I had. I also would like to mention that I didn't feel myself having any snacks this week, but I do eat snacks every day. It's just that I saw no point in showing me eat fruit and granola over and over, so I just focused on the meals. One last thing before I start, I am going to be showing my meals throughout this week, which could be triggering to those who suffer from eating disorders. So if you do get triggered by watching others eat, maybe don't watch me eat. And also, don't compare yourself to me. Some of you might think I'm not eating enough. Some of you might think I eat too much this week. Everyone eats differently because everyone's bodies are different, and what works for me might not work for you, so it's not okay to judge me for how much or how little I ate. Also, I don't usually eat like this because I'm not usually vegan. But okay, enough rambling. Let's just move on to day one. So I have to have breakfast real early in the morning at like 7 a.m. because I have school, and usually I'm not hungry at 7 a.m. but I still force feed myself because I know that once I get to school and once lessons start, I'll become really hungry. So I basically force myself to have something for breakfast before school every day, so it's usually not anything heavy. So basically this morning I had rice cakes with peanut butter and banana, and I've never actually had this combo before and I loved it. It was delicious. I would usually have yogurt for breakfast, so this was a nice change and I'll definitely have it more often now. Now, since it was Monday, it was a school day, so I decided to pack myself lunch instead of eating non-vegan food at the cafeteria as I would usually do. I decided to make myself a wrap because I'm a culinary genius, so I had it in school and it was very good, but it would have been better with chicken. When it was time for dinner, I was at home and my mom decided to make us a vegan dinner in support of my new lifestyle. And this was soba noodles with veggies. This is actually a dish that she makes quite often, minus the tofu, and she makes this as a side dish usually, which I would have with some meat. But since I'm vegan, we decided to have it with tofu. This was one of my favorite dishes that my mom cooks for me, so I was very satisfied with it. Also, the food was really hot in this clip, so that's why I'm eating it so strangely. I was feeling pretty great at this point. I successfully won a day being vegan and I was excited for a new day. The night before, I prepared myself breakfast, which was overnight oats. Now, I usually have overnight oats, but I make it with yogurt. But since I was vegan and I couldn't find any vegan yogurts, I had to use soy milk. This meant that my overnight oats were soggy, so I was pretty disappointed this morning. For lunch, oh boy, for lunch I had a whole fiasco. Basically, I am not a chef. I never cook. I never learned how to cook, and I decided to pack myself a salad for lunch. But this salad is a salad that requires boiling vegetables and chickpeas. It's called vinaigrette, and it traditionally consists of potatoes, beetroot, sauerkraut, pickles, peas, and sometimes carrots, all diced up to look pretty like this. It's one of my favorite salads because I love beetroot, so I decided to make it, but I used chickpeas instead of peas for more protein. The problem was that I didn't know how to boil vegetables because I've never boiled them before, so it took me like 2 hours to make the salad, and the beetroot came out slightly undercooked even though I was boiling it for over an hour. So I was scared the salad would be bad. But anyways, I combined all the ingredients and I took it with me to school. I did like it. After school I had box, so I walked there because it wasn't too far away from where I live, and when I was on the way back from box I got a text from my friend Sultangeli asking to go have dinner, and I remember that there was a cafe on the way to where I live that has a vegan menu, so I agreed and I headed my way towards that direction. So I decided to order myself a vegan breakfast for dinner, and it consisted of vegan sausages, a vegan egg, a salad, potatoes, 2 gluten-free bread with vegan toppings and beans.
The bacon is disgusting.
Oh my god.
Does it taste real?
Mm-hmm.
Give me.
I was super shocked at how real the sausages tasted like. But both the sausages and eggs were made from wheat, and it messed with my brain because it tasted so real. But my dinner was delicious and it was really big and filling, so I couldn't really finish it all.
Bro, this tastes like a real sausage.
do they do this?
10 out of 10 though, the best thing I've had the whole week. I was feeling good today too. I wasn't missing meat whatsoever, and this morning I had rice cakes with hummus and avocado. Pretty simple but good. For lunch I packed leftover soba noodles that I had for Monday's dinner, and it was still good even though it was cold. For dinner, my cleaner actually decided to make some patties from chickpeas and veggies, and I had that with some rice. They were actually really good even though they do look a bit gross. I did have sauce with it, by the way. I didn't just have plain unseasoned food. This day was pretty uneventful, but I did notice that I was a bit bloated today. It wasn't too extreme and I can handle it, but it was just a bit uncomfortable. For breakfast, I had granola with banana and soy milk. It was good. I love granola. Then at school, they were serving salmon at the cafeteria and I really wanted it, but I was vegan, so I had to have my leftover vinaigrette salad and a chickpea patty. It was good, but I wanted salmon. Anyways, after school, I decided to get a soy milk matcha latte because I wanted more protein and soy milk is high in protein. I usually only drink iced Americanos and I drank an Americano every day this week, by the way. But this time I opted for something different. It was okay, but Americanos are better. Then for dinner, I made myself this legendary wrap with the chickpea patty, hummus, avocado, greens, and some hot sauce. This was absolutely delicious, but it would have been better with cheese.
I'm really uncomfortable. My stomach hurts so bad.
Okay guys, on this day, things got hard. Not because I missed meat or whatever, but because of another horrible thing. I was so insanely bloated this day. I was in pain and I was very uncomfortable and I had to walk around school feeling really gassy for like 8 hours today. Today was a non-uniform day, by the way, because we were celebrating a public holiday.
This is how my stomach usually looks. This is how it looks now.
But anyways, for breakfast, I had the same breakfast as I had on Monday, but I just added a bit of cinnamon on top. For lunch, I packed leftovers again. I had a leftover chickpea patty with rice, veggies, avocado, and hummus, and it was good, but I was in so much pain after eating that because of how painfully bloated I was. And by the time I got home, I was looking 9 months pregnant. I was very, very bloated, and I just wanted to lie down and cry from pain, but I still had dinner, which definitely didn't make my situation any better. My dinner was just roasted vegetables with tofu, and after this, I lay down in my bed and stayed there for the rest of the day. The weekend had started, so I didn't need to go to school. This morning I felt a bit better and I had a bowl of oatmeal with peanut butter and pear. It was good, but I was already tired of being vegan at this point. After that I had box, and after box I agreed to meet up with my friends for lunch. We went to a ramen place that offered vegan ramen and I paid for a side of tofu, but they barely gave me any tofu whatsoever. Whatever, it was still very enjoyable. For me, Saturday is a really snacky day, so I didn't have dinner because I just decided to have a bunch of snacks that I couldn't really be bothered to film. It was all vegan though, by the way, so don't worry. The very last day. I was so over it, to be honest. I didn't want to be vegan anymore, but I had to push through it because it was the last day. Today I had to fly to the city of Almaty because we had a 1-week holiday and I was going there to visit family and celebrate a bunch of national holidays. We left in the morning and I was too dumb to think about breakfast. I didn't think of how there would probably not be anything vegan for me to eat at the airport, and I was right. There wasn't anything. So I ended up just having liquids for breakfast. I had a soy milk matcha latte and an iced Americano. Needless to say, I was hungry. I was offered dried apples on a plane though, which was nice. When we arrived, we had to order food, so I got hummus with pita and a vegan salad. It was pretty good. For dinner, we were invited over to my aunt's place and she made loads of food for us. I couldn't have any of it, but luckily she made me a delicious lentil soup, bulgur, and roasted mushrooms, which was a perfect dinner to end my vegan journey on. She also made me an almond milk banana smoothie for dessert, which was really good, but I was really jealous of my sister for eating this eclair. I was so happy when I was finally free from the restrictions of a vegan diet. I felt accomplished and I was so glad it was finally over. But the first thing I actually did the morning after the challenge was go hiking. I went hiking because the city of Almaty has great mountains which are perfect to hike in. So I woke up real early to go hiking with my mom, and I was super excited to have my first non-vegan breakfast at the top of the mountain. At the top of this specific mountain area that I was walking on, there is a cafe that serves delicious syrniki, which are a type of Russian breakfast. They are very popular in the Soviet area of the world, and they are one of my favorite foods. Basically, they're like these sweet fried things made from cottage cheese, and they're usually paired with cream and jam, and they're so delicious. It's like having cheesecake for breakfast. It's the best thing ever. And in this specific cafe on the top of the mountain, they're the most delicious ones I've ever tried, and I've been fantasizing about them since the last time I've tried them a year ago. So it would have been the perfect thing to end my veganism on. But since it was a national holiday the day we went hiking, the cafe was absolutely packed and it had like a huge line. I was a bit upset, but we went down the mountain and decided to get breakfast at this delicious cafe in the city. I got zucchini hash browns with smoked salmon and a poached egg on top, and it was so good. I wanted to cry because I was finally not vegan anymore. Basically, I completed the challenge and it wasn't as difficult as I initially thought it was gonna be. I thought that I would miss animal products so much that I would snap and cave in, but that didn't happen. Actually, the most difficult part of the challenge was digestion, and that's something that I never heard anyone talk about when it comes to going vegan. I did mention that around Thursday and Friday, I started experiencing severe painful bloating and gassiness, and this persisted up until I stopped being vegan. There is an explanation for this, by the way. Basically, when I switched to veganism, I started consuming way more fiber than I would usually consume, and fiber is a carbohydrate which cannot be digested by the body and is instead broken down by bacteria. Fiber keeps you full and helps you digest food and poop, but if you eat too much fiber, it may cause you to experience some severe bad bloating, which is what happened to me because my body couldn't break down the amount of fiber I was consuming. And as I mentioned, I pretty much eat yogurt every single day, and yogurt has probiotics in it which helps your gut bacteria break down fiber. But since I became vegan, I couldn't have any yogurt, and I was too stupid to think about taking probiotics until it was too late, of course. So basically, after 4 days of being vegan, my stomach blew up like a balloon and I was very uncomfortable and gassy for the remainder of the week. So basically, if you are gonna go vegan, watch out for that. Other than that, I wasn't tired when working out, and I definitely didn't feel hungry throughout the week either. It was actually really fun planning what I was going to eat, and I think it was a good learning experience to have. Am I gonna go vegan? Absolutely not, and I will never do this again. But this experience definitely showed me that it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, and I will definitely start implementing more plant-based meals into my life from now on. Thanks for watching this video. It was really difficult to put together because I've never done anything like this before, and also I'm kind of like really tired right now while I'm filming this, so if I seem kind of out of it, it's because I had a long day today. But anyways, if you like this video, if you appreciate my hard work, if you have anything to say, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Bye!